Welcome back. Dr. Bill here, and one of my favorite people, Pete FETTIG of KARATBARS Gold Business. And KARATBARS, we have a lot of websites we talked about on Thursday that help people build their business. And I wanted to kind of go over that because we had a lot of questions arising from that of how to keep in contact with your downline, how to build it, what it means to cycle, and of course the nuances about the business, how it's going to expand from just a gold saving club, which it is now, to the end of the year where gold-backed currency is going to be issued, and vendors will start accepting KARATBARS electronically as fractional transfer right out of Stuttgart, Germany. And future plans we have for KARATBARS to become literally a replacement economic instrument to replace fractional reserve currencies around the world with kiosks for transfer of money receiving KARATBARS gold cards and currency or fractional reserve currency, doing bank transfers anywhere in the world fully encrypted with Professor McCanney's full encryption system that cannot be broken by any agency. And then finally the KARATBARS bartering system, I call it the EKB, electronic KARATBARS bartering, that's going to create a credit-based economy that will be the first in history. So the first step is you can build a phenomenal business by just joining us, and we'll help build your business, both with the emotional support, with putting people under you as well, and with just showing you how easy it is to build a secure savings in gold and to build a residual income that will be coming in on your KARATBARS card every Friday, deposit in Stuttgart, Germany on your MasterCard. So, Pete, let's talk about some of these other websites and how people can build their business. And it's building very, very fast. I mean, we started, I think, 1 month and 1 day ago. And already here at Nutrimedical, we have, well over 100 people already downline, and many more joining, and just at an enormous rate. In fact, the pace is increasing faster and faster, and we get some really dynamic people too, like Professor McCanney, who have joined, Tim Alexander's joined, who's also one of our co-hosts. I've been talking to our scientist Ann Morrison, who will help her along. Again, I helped to get her going with one of our great listeners, putting together a blog for her because she's an amazing scientist and analyst. But having this additional income means we can do more things to serve you, because that's what we're here for. We want to assist you in building an income that can allow you to purchase the nutraceuticals, to get your prepper supplies ready, to have a secure second income, because most Americans do not have enough savings, and they're in danger. Again, even if you take the average of all different economic reports, they're in danger of a massive devaluation of world currencies. The least of those devaluations will be the American, but even if the least of those happen, from the direst warnings like Gerald Celente to the least dire like Joel Skousen, I'm predicting about a 20% drop in the value of the dollar sometime in the next 6 months, minimum. But other currencies will be wiped. And I think last year they devalued it, was it the Venezuelan currency by, was it 60% or 70%? Is that right?
That sounds about right, yes. And that was,
and these are very devastating. Yeah, over a weekend. And people don't realize these rumblings. The only way the globalists can deal with their fractional reserve currencies and their debt monster they made called the derivatives market. We were shielded from that from the 1930s to the Bill Clinton era, when in the second term he got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act that walled off the banks from gambling with your money. And now they have bailing in, which means they can say that your bank deposits are an unsecured literally investment in their bank, which means they can literally bail them in or take them and just it's gone, or they give you what's called a haircut, which is a fancy term for we're going to take, like, if the deal wasn't accepted in Greece, 30% off the top of your savings. So if you have 100,000 euros in Greek euros in the bank, 30,000 of those euros were going to immediately be taken. And again, that day is coming for Greece. I have the Gerald Celente Trends newsletter I just got about a week ago, and it says, democracy is dead. Greeks created it. Greeks killed it. Well, I don't think they killed it. I think what it is corrupt politicians killed it by accepting dirty deals with fractional reserve currency masters like the European Union Central Bank. And even the IMF told them to write off the debt, and they wouldn't. So if you don't understand the signs, you're going to suffer greatly, and you might be wiped out financially if you don't realize you need to do this quickly so you can take care of your health with Nutrimeds. You can have a savings account. You can pay down your debts and your credit cards. You can get yourself into a position where you're not going to get wiped out physically, emotionally, or financially in a very dangerous, very near future. So, Pete, how do we use these websites? Let's go over that and any other issues you want to talk about this show, because we have a special every Tuesday and Thursday now to explain this, because we provide people with their Nutrimed solution for their health, and we reverse hundreds of health conditions that everybody else says you can't. Now we provide a financial solution for people's financial health, and we talk about geopolitical and spiritual solutions every day. In fact, this Wednesday we have back on the program Jonathan Gray, who's on twice a month. We have other great experts that talk about, the real spiritual truths of how we need to restore the, if you want to call it the Torah relationship with the Most High God, and the if you want to call it the metaphysical rules that Jesus gave that told us what we needed to do in order to have a stable civilization, which unfortunately America has lost, as it says in the Bible, its first love. And we are approaching in September the Shemitah year, which is the Jubilee, which means debt was supposed to be wiped out. And because we've allowed debt to consume our nations, God is going to give us war, pestilence, and starvation. And if we can repent, and part of that repentance is to get involved with KARATBARS and get a savings account and be ready, because when bread becomes so dear you can't buy it with the dollar and you have to have a wheelbarrow, like in the Czech Republic or in Hungary, back as little as the 1960s in Hungary. Believe me, it's going to get pretty nasty. The Weimar Republic is not far away, is it?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, I'd like to start.
So how do we use these sites? Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Last week I gave you a plethora of sites, most of which you posted right on the Nutrimedical site. But I wanted to focus primarily on the KARATGroupTeam.com site. And
yes, that's that.
I mean, there are so many things here. It'll actually take you quite a while to get through the whole site and really appreciate all the things that are there. But if anybody that's on the listening to us today could actually log on to that site, and of course, if you're listening to this as an archived file later on, you can do the same thing. But if you go to the homepage, go to http://KARATGroupTeam.com. Log into that site. You'll see the banner come up on the top of the site. It has about 5 buttons there: home, get started, websites and tools, and team trainings and testimonials. And once you're there, if you click on the Get Started tab, the first thing you come to is Know Your Why, KNOW, Know Your Why, and that's the first step. And that Know Your Why is kind of short for what gets you out of bed in the morning, what motivates you to do anything in any area of your life, much less with KARATBARS.
Right.
But if you look at all the top leaders that are working with KARATBARS, you find that most of them have a specific goal in mind, not just to be part of a way to make residual income, but a reason for doing that with KARATBARS. I think that's vitally important that people take that first step, and they actually offer a complimentary video on kind of I don't know how to describe it, but a complimentary video that talks about what your why is, how to create that, or at least define what that is. And so we need to be able to stay motivated and understand why we're doing things, and that will proceed. How?
Yeah, it says in the Bible that my people perish for lack of vision. And what we are doing here on KARATGroupTeam.com, first step is to create a vision that you can keep focused on as you build not only a network, but a change in your future where you're in control in the driver's seat. And welcome back. And so KARATGroupTeam.com. And this website shows an amazing amount of things. I guess it's been around for about a year, and last month KARATBARS really upgraded it. This allows an amazing downline control and if you want to call it training manual for your downline. For example, Professor McCanny signed up last, I think, Wednesday. He's already had 20 people under himself alone. We're helping them move on to not just sign up, but get their packages, get their Know Your Customer documents uploaded to KARATBARS in Stuttgart, Germany, and then get into a program where they sign up for buying gold at least 1 gram a week or a month, and then duplicate that by their left and right leg down line. And of course, as they do this, they're building a network of people that are gold savers, and saving also in KARATBAR currency, which will, of course, by the end of the year be usable as an international currency, and fractional vendors will be then accepting KARATBAR currency like a credit card, which is probably why there's some pushback occurring. And I think yesterday I sent on to one lady, Christine, who had a concern about KARATBARS that was raised in Quebec, and it was based on 2013. And I want people to understand this. KARATBARS is squeaky clean. They have maintained, in fact, such high levels of standards that it's not even considered an MLM, multi-level marketing, because you don't have to do anything. You can sign up and not do a thing, or you can just buy some gold KARATBAR cards or currency when it comes out at the end of the year. But the ideal thing, if you get in the dually system, which is as easy as $106 for bronze, and you can upgrade, you can start building a downline and a residual income that's deposited every Friday in your KARATBARS MasterCard debit card in Stuttgart, Germany. Which is just, it's such an easy business for anybody. You don't need to buy inventory. You don't need to do anything. Now, if you're an internet marketer, like one of our people, Arthur, last week, is a SEO or internet marketer, he's going to go great guns. Or somebody like Professor McCanny, who not only has a radio show, is very dynamic. They're going to build massive downlines. But you can do it too. You don't have to be one of these people with a radio show or downline SEO marketer. We will be placing people under you, and you can do it yourself. And before you know it, if you follow these steps and these training things, you'll be able to then and have no barrier to purchasing enough Nutrimeds to keep yourself and your family well, and have prepper supplies, personal protection. Start doing what I call prepper off-grid things, so you can have, say, a wind generator, a well and other systems, and get out of the big cities. I tell people you have to have the financial power to have that buffer for a disaster, and even the copay on Obamacare. Most people that are buying at 85% can't use all of their health plans because the copays and the deductibles are so high in Obamacare. Well, if you can pay the deductibles, then you're okay. But if you can't use the services. Well, a lot of people are in a desperate situation where they just don't have savings, and that's not good for society to have no savings. People need to have an income that's not going to be squeezed by an out-of-control government that continues to print money. So let's go through this. Number one is know your why. In other words, how to get motivated, right?
That's right. You need everybody's why is going to be slightly different. I mean, you literally have to define that. What's going to make you get up? And it's not just, like I said, it's not just KARATBARS. It's life in general. What gets you up in the morning? What motivates you to do anything?
Let's define what your why is, and I'll tell you what my why is, and we'll see if we can compare them, because they're going to be different for everybody. They'll be different for a single mother, an SEO marketer, a radio host, a guy that's an accountant, or I talked to a lawyer last week who's a top lawyer who's interested in KARATBARS, but he's very skeptical, and he wants to know all of the ins and outs, and it's not a scam or a Ponzi scheme, et cetera, which it isn't. What's your why?
My why is that I want to see us get back to using God's just weights and measures. So that's outlined in the Bible in several verses, and there's no way that God is going to destroy you if you are trying to obey Him and follow His commandments. Yep. Yes, it's not going to be comfortable making a switch and getting there, but once we're there, we'll look back and say, why didn't we do that sooner? I mean,
we have to get a vision.
Gold,
yes,
using gold eliminates corruption in political systems because you can't corrupt the gold. Right. Just like gold doesn't rust or fade away, it also means that it's godly. It's following God's chosen medium of exchange.
Right.
And so it can't be corrupted. It can't be printed. It can't be hypothecated to make more gold, so to speak. I mean, you can hypothecate it into financial paper instruments, but not into gold instruments.
Well, that's the bonus behind the idea of Bitcoin, that they can't hypothecate it or multiply it, but the fact is you can come up with a new algorithm down the road. And so gold is different. And not only that, even after you mine the gold, it has to go through a certification process to indicate that it's vaulted gold, or it actually is a purity. They discovered some bars, I think, in a bank in Hong Kong that were actually zirconium, because they're near the specific gravity of gold, and they were just gold-plated. So you have to make sure they're properly certified that it actually is gold. So what the Chinese do when they take gold, they cut the bars to make certain that they actually are gold.
That's correct.
Now, my why is a little slightly different. I view all effort, all of your work, as your hours of life is blood. In other words, there's no such thing of money that's not blood money. And basically, if you have illegal gold, you're actually stealing the blood or the life from other people. So you have to have a credit-based system, which is, as you mentioned, equal weights and measures. If you have a credit-based economy, which is what God certified had to happen with the Sabbath and the Shemitah year, the Jubilees, that all debt would be forgiven. The problem is then people could return to their land, so that the society would not be torn apart by those who are more efficient at obtaining wealth, that the debts would not be written off, so the person could return to their land and their property, and their family line would not be destroyed. What we have is a society where the more advanced and more aggressive predator nations and their affiliate banks are literally crushing the rest of the world. So a lot of the reason why the third world isn't coming into the second world or other status is because the debts that are created by predatory banks is so great on them they can never crawl out of their mess. Whereas if you have a credit-based system, every economy on earth could gain and grow. It talks about this in the Bible, that all nations will return to the outer court of the temple in Jerusalem at the appointed feast days after the return of Yeshua, or his name is Yahshvesh, or the King of Wisdom. That's, if you want to call it God's real name. They call it Yahweh or Yahshvesh, which is the ancient Hebrew name. What people should realize is, if we don't return to our credit system, we always have the cycle of debt and war. They always go together, hand in hand. And in fact, the biggest way you can gain more power if you're a banker is to create war, because it creates the fastest growth of debt. And now what's happened, though, the debt is so big that it's actually consuming the banks. The banks themselves can't even keep the interbank loan rate as low as it can if they have physical cash. So the next step they have to do is move to biometrics and get rid of physical cash. So what I'm saying is KARATBARS is you want to call a last bit of grace to say, if you repent and start using a credit-based economy, you will not have the mark of the beast. But if you don't have a bartering system and an electronic currency system based on gold that's fair weight measures, you will be required to use biometrics to buy and sell. And if you don't accept their system, you won't be able to. That's what I'm saying. That's my why. This amazing website, and I tell people, it's what we're trying to do in each of these programs is give people more and more tools. You just gave me over the break an interview between scam investigator Jack Bauger and Matt Reddick. And of course it shows, we had an attorney last week who called me, who was from a Ivy League university, who was concerned about specific things, and I gave him my answers. I said in future programs on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Pete, who's a master of this with his connections right through the network, right up to the top at the board at KARATBARS, will answer all these. And you notice that if you go online, you only get innuendo. You don't get any facts or actual prosecutions, because there is no scam involved here. This is a straightforward business, saving gold and forming a gold forming club network, period. That's how simple it is. It's like so simple it's ridiculous. And you don't need to buy anything. You can register and not do a darn thing, and not make any money either. But you decide to dually system it and start promoting people, and we promote under you, you're going to build a residual income. It's that simple.
Amen. That's accurate and well said. Because I like, whenever people bring up the claim that it's a Ponzi scheme or it's network marketing or this person said that, and there's all kinds of negative things on the internet. When you go look at all the negative things that you'll ever find on Carrot Bars, all you're going to find is this innuendo. There's no fact behind any of it.
Right.
And even this thing that you mentioned earlier in the show about this warning from authorities in Quebec, they are so careful not to make the claim it's a scam or a pyramid scheme or a Ponzi scheme or anything of the like, because it isn't. They can't make that claim. So they would be jeopardizing their own themselves into a lawsuit if they did that.
Right. Here's the real issue. The real issue is the banks, the states, the provinces, the governments, and the credit card companies are in a bit of a panic because they were under a big challenge from Bitcoin, who still managed to force through Bitcoin. And there's 11 other fractional reserve we'd call cryptocurrencies. But these cryptocurrencies don't hold a candle to Carrot Bars in its future. And to me, my why is that I think Carrot Bars is the godly answer to the mark of the beast. That's what I think. That's how powerful it is. In other words, you're not going to see an impoverished people having to move to civil detention camps to get food, just like the Syrian refugees that are being shoved out of their country. Because what you see in Syria is what they want to do to America and Western nations. Starve us out, destroy our wealth, and then feed us gruel in detention camps. Or in our own homes, but basically we have no wealth left and we have to go to rations. And people say, that can't happen. Yes, it can. And my grandfather and grandmother went through the 1920s, and luckily he was very clever, so he made money even during the Depression. But he remembered, my grandmother told me, people would literally come to their home and say, we'll work on doing gardening, or you work in your yard, or your house, or your roof, or whatever. Just, if we'll do some work, can you feed us? Can you give us a place to sleep? That's it. Mm-hmm. I mean, and people don't think that can happen again. In fact, when things start to rip, and if we have a cold in America or the West, third world nations will starve to death. And we already see the rumblings of that. And that's why I think, to my why, is Carrot Bars is a godly answer to the mark of the beast. That's how big it is. That's how important this is.
I would agree with that. I think that's a keen observation. So going back to step one, which is know your why, the first thing you have to be able to do is define what it is that you want to do with your life, with Carrot Bars. The second thing is that you need to make a commitment to follow a plan. So you have to make a plan that you can follow. And even if you fail to meet some of the goals, if you don't have a plan, then you're going to fail. You know, the old saying is, if you don't have a plan, then you fail because you don't have a plan.
Exactly. So, how can you? In fact, you can't succeed if you don't have a plan, and you don't really fail because you even haven't set goals to fail too. So you can't get either one. You don't really fail, and you don't really succeed. So in order to succeed, you have to have a plan to set a bar, and then you can readjust that bar or your specific goals periodically depending on how it grows. For example, to me, Carrot Bars is growing much faster than I expected, but puts additional burdens to make sure we help to support and train and motivate people to realize just how great this is and how wonderful it's going to help pull people out of the economic doldrums. 85% of the people that go bankrupt in America, all they need is, according to bankruptcy experts, is $400 more a month, and they would not go bankrupt. Isn't that amazing? 85%.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
And over 80% of them go bankrupt due to health care bills, and of those, 90% have health care plans. What do you think of that?
That's amazing to hear. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that statistic.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So we got know your why, and amongst that know your why is define what it is. Number 2, make a plan, and number 3, make a commitment to follow the plan. So that's a 3-step process for step 1. Step 2 is learn how you earn. If you don't know how you earn with Carrot Bars, how can you know how to make money with it, how to optimize the business? So you need to know how the compensation, at least the basics of the compensation plan. I don't think anybody really expects anyone to know the whole plan just to go out and start working at the business. I mean, heck, I've been in it 2 years, and I don't even know all the details of it. But the basics, knowing how the unilevel works, knowing how the dual team system works, how the points work, how the units work. Those things you do need to learn. Even if you don't know them day one, you need to learn them.
Right, and
you can go quite a ways on enthusiasm. That's great, but along the way, you do need to learn all the basics.
Yeah, it's having a tool. It's like having a trade. This is a gold bar, KARATBARS business trade, and you have to learn the trade. Just like if you're a stockbroker or you're doing commodities trading, or you took a course over a few weeks at a seminar. You have to learn how to do the business. Even if you had previous financial training, or you're a lawyer or doctor or a financial advisor in other areas like insurance, this is it's a whole new deal. You have to learn the tools.
And I would also like to point out that these elements are not part of what you would learn or present or share with a prospect. These are things that you need to do to run your business. So
right.
It takes a while to learn. That's okay. Nobody is expecting you to know everything day one, but make a commitment to take a half hour a day at least, and just learn something new about the business. And
the big question I have is
slows you down.
Yeah, the next thing I hear from Michelle, we talk about a lot, is business placement strategy. When you're starting to get a lot of sign-ups, like we have, and the people under us start to get a lot of sign-ups and they want advice, you have a video here as well that shows the business placement strategy. You have to learn how to place people in the network in order to build, and who to actually set your left and right leg to build the power legs, or are you going to do specific placement? Can you give us some of the details of that video?
I haven't actually even gotten through that whole video myself, but the basics of placement strategy come down to you want to build what's called a roof line on both your left side and your right side, and in order to one of them is going to be your what's called your power leg, and the other leg is going to be your bank leg. And so the power leg is what drives momentum. The bank leg is what gets you paid. And so you build the power leg on one side so that it takes off, and the idea is that you get that part into momentum so that you just manage it, and then you functionally build on the bank side.
Right.
So you're trying to reduce the complexity down to just managing one side, if you will, because the other side is taken off without your effort.
Right, because you build it. And we have a question from Tom in Baltimore, and he said he wants to know what the markup is for the bars. I think this is a question we've dealt with in previous shows, but if you want to re-summarize it, Pete, go ahead.
Honestly, I don't know how I would answer that question, because it's not really
I
a
have an
markup.
answer. As I say, I Vulcan mind meld. I've listened to you enough in our questions. I have an answer that's pretty straightforward. There's a thing called value added. If you want to buy gold from a gold certified vendor, you can buy it at about $35 an ounce. When you buy a KARATBAR gram of gold, which is LBA certified in the card or soon in the currency, it's around $53. So it's value added, because you can't go to and just take a gram of gold and then walk into somebody and say, I want my money, and you won't get $35. You can buy it at $35, but you'll probably get about $25 or $27 an ounce, or gram. Okay. The fact is that when you get KARATBARS, you're actually getting value-added vaulted gold in the card. And it's also going to become a certifiable currency by the end of the year. We'll actually be giving KARATBAR currency notes that have gold in it. The reason why it's gold in it is it can't be fractional reserve printed endlessly by Obama or the Fed Reserve or European Central Bank or the IMF or anybody else that's printing gold currency like China, which prints tremendous amounts of currency and then literally loans it to the Fed Reserve, and that's why we quote $1.8 trillion to China. It's money that they literally printed out of thin air. It's the same garbage that's going on in Europe with the euro and the dollar. Currency created out of nothing and then loaned to create wealth and debt. And so that's the answer. The answer is KARATBARS is a transitional replacement world currency. It's not just gold. The gold is in it because it's not a cryptocurrency where you can create a new algorithm. It is value added in gold-based currency. Does that make sense?
It does, and I would like to point out that right in the Carrot Group team, the KARATBARS.com, there is a page called Team Training. And on that page, I'm trying to load it right now so I can tell you how far down the page it is. Let's see. It is about halfway down or so. There is a price and feature comparables link. It's got pictures of it, and it's kind of like a scrolling PowerPoint, if you will.
Right.
And it has pictures of the cards. And what it's doing is it's comparing the prices between people that are making substantially similar packaged gold. I want to make that statement very clear that what KARATBARS is doing is adding significant value to the gold by putting it into what's called a traveling vault. That's
right.
Why I can't explain.
That's why it's value added in. Yeah. Yeah, and there are the three other companies that are doing it, but they're not doing anywhere near the features of KARATBARS. There's three other companies in the world that have a system remotely like this, and this actual shows a price and feature comparability to these other systems.
That's correct. And if you look on there, the ones that are cheaper by the gram have a higher shipping cost and a higher premium to the shipping just for insurance. So you do end up spending more with those vendors than you would with KARATBARS.
Right.
But the outright price, if you just look at price only, the KARATBARS price is at or below these vendors on any given day and any given time. And you see right now it was updated on July 22nd. KARATBARS is right there. And plus, there really isn't any markup.
Right, but there's also no commissions and no free gold, whereas UBS, Anchor, Heraeus, Credit Suisse, and Pomp Suisse, none of these have an ability to create a replacement economy or a credit-based economic currency. In other words, you're just getting purchasing gold with very high shipping costs, no free storage, which, by the way, they'll store it for you besides if you're building up gold before they ship it to you. So KARATBARS is all the features, all the issues, if you want to call it. It's like getting a luxury car and say, I wish I had this and that, and you get in the car and say, oh my gosh, it's here. You imagine something, and you're in the car, and it's there. Well, that's what KARATBARS is like. It's like getting into, one of the, what they call the Blue Shadow, which is a British car, or a Lamborghini. You get in and you think of something in your imagination, and it's there. That's what KARATBARS is like compared to these other systems.
Another way to describe that as well is that everybody else is they sell gold, and they say, thank you very much for your order. We hope you come back and buy more from us. Only KARATBARS is out there saying, we want to build a network of savers that actually accumulate enough gold to use it in commerce on a regular basis.
Right.
And not only use it in commerce, but build a network of merchants that are willing to accept that very gold as a form of payment.
Right.
And pay you to build the business.
We're number one. We are applying right now, not in December or January. We're applying right now to be a KARATBARS vendor to accept KARATBARS as payment for nutraceuticals, and we're applying as EKB as electronic KARATBARS for our KARATBARS network we're trying to build. So what people need to understand, this is features that will replace, just like our wing generator that Professor McCanny has. It's not a addition like having a few solar panels to keep running your iPad. This is like the wing generator is a replacement system for the current debt-based fractional reserve currencies. And no other system really does that. Even the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin doesn't do that because it doesn't have the security features of this. It doesn't have the value that people always think of gold. I've got gold in my hands. Like when we get our KARATBAR cards or when you get your KARATBAR currency, you actually have it. Or if you're even vaulting it, say, and storing it in Germany at a vault, and you want to buy and sell, and you are a vendor, you have an electronic wallet, you actually have physical gold in your hands as LBMA certified gold notes, which have value added in. So it's not just the gold itself, like 1 gram. It's not like a prospector walking up to the scales there back 100 years ago and wanted to buy so much feed for his cattle, in California or in Nevada. You actually have electronic funds transferred gold. So by the end of the year, gold vendors will actually be able to buy like airline tickets or hardware or food or clothing or Amazon. And more vendors are going to start picking up and realize as currencies start getting devalued, they want stable currency to do their commerce. They do not want a currency that's in the sequential and systematically devaluation game that the bankers are going to play over the next 2 to 5 years, and it could be very painful to not only business worldwide, but to people where their money just goes poof. So,
that's right. That's right. Now,
so that's really cool.
We have on this the Getting Started tab on Carrot Group Team. There are effectively 3 steps. We went through step 1. We discussed step 2, and then there's also a link on here called Learn More Questions and Answers. That's a very thorough FAQ type of a page. And then step 3 is Prospect with Ease, and that's where we're getting down to the brass tacks of how do you go out and find other people, and how do you make referrals. And so there's everything from inviting people, presenting to people, having a conversation and acknowledge their interests and questions, and registration. And you can actually download such things as the invitation script. And then we give you tools where people can go to get more information so that they can make an informed decision. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to sift people. We're not trying to convince people.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I also went up to the top, and we're going to close here in a minute, to websites and tools, and it provides you either a website only to allow you to help with your downline team. It also has Carrot Group Success System. And Gold Group system marketing websites. Gold Group, you have the Gold Group system for step by marketing websites. Referral 3, and yours is free. 10-day free trial period. Lead, text, and email notifications. So all your downline, you can notify all kinds of new information you have, new marketing information, new teaching information. Contact management. And autoresponders, and and customer support. So again, this is an amazing website, KARATGroupTeam.com. You want to build your business, you have our help, and you have the help of all these other new tools. And I just posted another link also to make sure you understand this is a real business. It's not a Ponzi scheme or a scam. It is an alternative world currency system, and it beats all the other companies, as we showed in the comparison, that are selling gold by the gram. All of the companies on Earth. So it's amazing. Thank you, Pete. You'll be back again on Thursday. If you have questions out there, email Michelle, call Michelle, email us. Be ready to call in online like our gentleman did earlier. Excellent questions. And we'll be back in a moment with hour number 2 and hour 3. Tim Alexander coming up tomorrow. Harley Schlanger and Jonathan Gray is back tomorrow as well. See you in just a minute.